Okay, my friends, what we have now witnessed over the weekend and really the last week is absolutely unprecedented in American history. Unprecedented. Because of that, I'm going to have to comment on this balloon situation, even though I'm here to talk about real estate, finance, entrepreneurship, and a little health and fitness. America's number one adversary, our number one mortal enemy and foe, the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP. Let me be very clear. It's not Russia. Russia has the economy the size of Texas. The Red Army is not going to march across Europe. Look at history. It's never going to happen. The CCP sent a high-altitude surveillance balloon first over Alaska, which begs the question, why didn't you just shoot it down then? No. And then it went over Canada. It entered Idaho. From Idaho, it went into Montana. And as now we're finding out, it just loitered. It just hung out. It was just there, lying there and hovering over our military bases. And it was hovering over each area for like 8 hours. So over many of our sensitive military bases, and some of them dealing with our most sensitive intercontinental ballistic missile silos, our nukes, and just vacuuming up, hanging out, just scooping up, soaking up all this information that it needed, and just kept going. Military base after military base after military base, until finally, ladies and gentlemen, Saturday afternoon, almost a week later, by the time it got to over South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, of all places, in the Atlantic Ocean, U.S. territorial, I think waters, Joey, finally gave the order after it completed its mission. We wanted to make sure it completed its mission. They say, hey, let it complete its mission before you blow it up. So they finally gave the order to shoot the balloon down, scrambling F-22 jet fighters. They launched one missile that blew it out of the sky, and now debris over something like 7-8 miles. And now you're not going to be able to. You're not going to believe. You're not going to believe what I'm going to say right now. Like I said, you can't make this stuff up. The Chinese are trying to send a ship to salvage it, and our own government is saying they don't know. They don't know if they can get a vessel there in time before the Chinese do. We can't get a vessel to Myrtle Beach before the Chinese do. I am not kidding, ladies and gentlemen. I swear to you, this is unprecedented. It's a clown show. It's unbelievable. This doesn't just happen. We have the most sophisticated military in the world. We are 30 years ahead, know for a fact, than China or Russia. Don't believe that BS. We would never let all the money we spend on defense. We are 30 years. This is a clear-cut case of treason, in my opinion. If you want to see what China got for all the money it poured into, let's say, Joey, into the Penn Biden Center, why is the CCP giving Joe Biden money? It's a fair question. And all the dealings that the Joe Biden crime family had with China, it's documented. The corruption documented on the Hunter Biden laptop, I don't want to get into that, but I've seen the videos of it. It's insane. Could Joe Biden be compromised? That's a fair question to ask. The Biden White House and the Biden presidency is owned by China, lock, stock, and barrel. They sent a spy balloon the size of 3 frickin' school buses, and they sent it for 7 days over the continental United States, surveilling and spying and gathering all kinds of data on our drone technology, our satellite technology, our intercontinental ballistic missile technology, the most sensitive information we have. Let me tell you right now, they could have blown it up over Alaska and make an excuse, we don't want to hurt anyone, when there's 1 person per square mile in Montana. And who cares if someone gets killed? Because 300 million Americans could be killed if they have this information and they launch a nuke attack. You blow that thing out of the sky right away. So they got everything over 7 days, ladies and gentlemen. When you look at the trajectory where this started, Alaska, Canada, then Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, then it made a nice little V and went to Nebraska, to Missouri, all the way to the Carolinas, North Carolina, and finally South Carolina. And you see the map I looked at with all the military solutions, where it went, it knew exactly where it wanted to go. The reason why it took this specific route, as many people have pointed out, is because it went over some of the most important, vital military bases and installations, and it was allowed to do so. It was, and not only was it allowed to do so, but now we're finding out, according to Bloomberg first broke the story. It is now being corroborated by other media outlets. Biden knew early on. And we knew that we saw this thing before it even hit Alaska. Trust me. Biden knew early on that the Chinese had sent their spy balloon and it had penetrated our defenses, that it was now hovering and just hanging out over some of our key military bases. And the order was given sort of like his classified documents. Cover it up. Don't let the American people know. If it wasn't for journalists, they wanted to cover this up. And I'll get to that in a minute why. And I get it, part of it from their end, politically, what they were trying to do. But they wanted to cover it up and they didn't want the American people to know what's happening. Don't let them know that the communist China is now scooping up, sucking up all the critical data about our bases, our military installations, and our air defense system, probing what we will do and what we will not do. Instead, they were getting obsessed with getting Tony Blinken. This is the reason why they wanted to cover it up. They wanted to get Tony Blinken, the Secretary of State, to continue to go to Beijing. Blinken will want to make a deal with China on climate change. Let me tell you right now, Tony, China will never do a deal on climate change. It would just be window dressing. They're building coal plants every week. It's never going to happen. It would just be tongue in cheek. I swear to you, to appease China so they can get something on climate change and save the deal at all costs. So they didn't want to ruin Blinken's trip. And if it wasn't for, like I said, a citizen journalist in Billings, Montana, of all places, the local paper there, who said that, what the hell is this in the sky? It's not a UFO. It is definitely not a weather balloon. What the hell is it? And it's a spy balloon, and this is a spy balloon. It's pretty obvious from China. And then someone within the Pentagon, and we don't know who, said, I'm going to leak this. So some patriot who was concerned about, giving up our military installation information leaked this, that it is a Chinese surveillance balloon. And so they had to, get out in front of the story before it completely consumed them. And that's when they admitted, late last week that, yep, sorry to tell you, the Chinese, yep, it's been sitting there for days now. And the Biden regime did nothing. They did nothing to have a talk on climate change, which they could have just moved. Instead, forget, we need that talk on climate change. Let's let them spy. Nothing. They weren't concerned at all. They wanted to hide it from the American public. Their concern was to cover it up in the face of massive public uproar. Now American sovereignty has been violated, ladies and gentlemen. American airspace has been violated. So let's be very clear what happened here. This is unprecedented. It's never happened under an administration. They try to make up a story. It happened under Trump. That's been debunked by the DNI. This was a naked provocation to test our resolve, to test our will, to test our air defenses. And, what would we do if the Chinese brazenly, and I mean brazenly, said, you know what? To hell with you and your sovereignty. To hell with you and your airspace. We're going to send in a spy balloon and we're going to put it right over your top military bases, and it's going to vacuum up. It's going to suck up all that sensitive data that we can possibly get. We don't give a shit because you're not going to do anything about it. There's nothing you can do. And because we own you, Joe Biden, lock, stock, and barrel. This is a slap in the face. This is China now telling us, the United States of America and the world, you're no longer numero uno United States. There's a new baller in town. And like the Roman Empire, we're going to start to impose our will on you, my friends. I want you to think about now what we have under Joe Biden. And this is the mother point, is the mother of all points, as Saddam Hussein would put it, if you remember. We have lost control over our borders, ladies and gentlemen. American sovereignty no longer exists, and our southern border is gone, and now China has exposed us. We no longer have sovereignty over our own airspace. Not just our border, but over our own airspace. China has now violated our national sovereignty, and they have violated international law, and they don't care. They don't care. This is an act of naked aggression upon the United States of America. And, our compromise people are saying, I'm not going to get in the weeds on this from my end, but that our president is compromised. The traitor president not only did nothing, he not only moved after the Chinese had collected all of their data. And that's the thing. They allowed it to finish its collection. Then China called Joe and said, go ahead, shoot it down. Sure, at this point now, it's in the Atlantic. They've gotten everything they've wanted. So go ahead and shoot it down, Joe. It doesn't matter at this point. Who cares? So with a powerful missile that they used, which will now make it nearly impossible to retrieve the technology or find out how much China got if you can't, get the information. So, just wipe it under the rug, let the American people forget about it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has just been a clown show after the last 2 years. If the Republicans are doing this, I would call this out. Every day that Joe Biden is in the White House, he continues to do incalculable damage to the national interest and security of the United States. He is the existential threat to the American. Okay? America has been humiliated on the world stage. Ladies and gentlemen, this shouldn't be happening. China now clearly is flexing its muscles, and this was an act of aggression, a violation of our national sovereignty, a violation of international law, a violation of our airspace, and now thanks to local reporters, and like I said, thanks to a local reporter in Billings, Montana, of all places, God bless them, the Biden regime has been completely exposed. They've had to backtrack. They lied. They knew what was going on for days. They were allowing the Chinese to surveil the balloon, the size of 3 school buses, just was hovering and hanging out 8 hours at a time at each military installation. And Montana, if you know, is where we produce our most sensitive drones and one of our most sensitive satellite technology, and it was just hanging out there for days, sucking up and surveilling information, all because they're using the excuse that Blinken wanted to do a talk on climate change. And like I said, China's the biggest polluter in the world. They're never going to change because wind and solar can't power a modern economy. They're going to continue to use coal. So Biden did nothing. In fact, Bloomberg broke the story that they knew about it. They deliberately wanted to hide it from the American public. They wanted to cover it up because they didn't want to ruin, like I said, Blinken's trip to China, where he was going to hope to get some kind of deal on climate change. And that's not going to happen. And continue Biden's, appeasement policies of everyone around the world in the wake of massive, there was a massive public uproar, and it's just sheer anger right now across the country. And they had to postpone the meeting and in the wake of the uproar only after journalists, like I said, in Billings, Montana, blew the whistle, did the Biden and some people at the Pentagon made them come out and admit that there was a spy ship spying all across America. And it was collecting massive amounts of data over key U.S. military installations. It's incredible. Well, one after another. It's just incredible. So it's just an absurd Plan B strategy. Justify not shooting it down right away until it got to the Atlantic Ocean Saturday. When, by then the damage had already been done, ladies and gentlemen. All the data that they needed had to been collected. It's been completely collected, and they claimed that this to me is preposterous. They could have shot it down before it hit Alaska. We have satellites everywhere, more satellites than any of our competitors. And they knew they were found. They didn't shoot it down. And they said they didn't want to shoot it down because they didn't want to hurt anyone or kill anyone. By the way, in Montana, there's 1 human being per square 7 miles. But our national sovereignty, the risk of the entire world getting blown up, America, if some people die because of it, too bad, in my opinion. You care about property damage. They're worried about property damage. What about all the damage that Black Lives Matter and Antifa did during the riots and the 40 people that were killed? You didn't care back then, but you're worried about property damage right now, or maybe one person getting hurt or an animal getting hurt. Come on. Come on. Some trailer, some guy's RV gets damaged, but we're going to allow our number one foe to spy on all our military installations, which could have consequential effects if we shot it down and let's say some animal dies or one person died. What are the effects of this, letting them scoop up all this information? It's absolutely preposterous. Montana is so sparsely populated, it is practically impossible for anyone to be hurt had they blown the balloon up over the sky. But even worse was about, Alaska. You could have shot it up over Alaska. Nothing was going to happen in Alaska. You're going to hurt some snow particles. I mean, they knew about it at least on January 28th when it crossed into Alaska, ladies and gentlemen, and they could have shot it down way back then. But China told them, hey, we're bringing in a spy ship. This is what some people are saying. You're not going to do shit about it. They could have shot it down right away. They chose not to. And this spy balloon was allowed to collect massive amounts of data over our military installations at 8 hours a clip. It was hanging out over each military installation, 6 to 9 hours. And it violated our airspace. It violated our sovereignty and steal our military secrets right underneath our nose. And the United States did nothing about it. It is a shame. It's shameful. Because, I don't know what's going on because maybe our new president bends the knee to Beijing. Everyone seems to be bending the knee to Beijing. You want to know what they got for all that money they poured into the Biden crime family? They did pour a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to get political, into Biden. What did China get for that? Now, America's been reduced to a paper tiger. Let's just say that this was a Russian spy balloon. Just for, humor me. It wasn't a Chinese spy balloon. It was a Russian spy balloon. How fast do you think the order would have been given to blow that fucking thing out of the sky? It would have been blown right away. Just think if we spent a spy balloon, it would have been blown away before it hit China. But it was a Chinese spy balloon. And so look at how they coddled it. Why did they coddle it? Brazen violation of our sovereignty, of our airspace, and a clear violation of international law. And Biden has done nothing in the face of this direct provocation and act of aggression. He's done zero. It's absolutely incredible and frightening. I think you have to understand one sentimental truth. Joe Biden is a traitor, and the Chinese own him lock, stock, and barrel. And that's not me saying it. And I'm not going to get into the inside baseball on this, but this is frightening. What I'm passionate about is real estate, and China is buying tons of land all over the United States and farmland. They're buying land next to military installations. Am I a bad guy for saying that? Why is that being allowed? If you people getting money from China, what's the end result? You think China's going to let you play ball with them when they finally get what they want? Because I'm going to tell you right now, China, 24 hours a day, and I talked to a Chinese national about this in Hong Kong, they think about overtaking America 24 hours a day. While you're on TikTok screwing around, every day they get out of bed, they go, how can we beat America? How can we beat America? They're thinking about it. They want you watching your football. They want you playing your video games. They want you doing TikTok. They want to take us down. So you people taking payoffs, it might be good in the short term, but when they finally get so much control, they're going to kill you. They're going to end you. They're going to end you. But we have, well, not just calling out Democrats, we have both political parties taking money from the Chinese Communist Party. I am not allowed to buy property in China. You know what would happen if I tried to buy property in China? But they're allowed to buy property here. Our government could take it back if they wanted to. If they buy all this property, we could just take it back saying you're a foreign national, boom, boom, boom. But they're allowing them to do it. Why are you allowing them to build next to our military? And they're buying land and putting up satellites, ladies and gentlemen. And I've seen the photos. People who live in these areas have taken photos. They said, hey, the CCP, we've seen them come in. They set up these little satellites. They haven't built anything on the land. This is just disgusting. It's terrible. You got to ask yourself, on a $176,000 salary, and both parties are involved in this. Joe Biden owns 5 houses. He's a billionaire and has a private jet. He's been in the Senate for 49 years in politics and $176,000 a year, and he's a billionaire and has 5 houses with complete staff and everything. Explain that one to me. And a jet. Okay? And he took money from the CCP. And other people in the Republican Party have taken money from the CCP. This needs to stop. We are a laughingstock to the world, and the damage that this has done, I talked to someone in the military, is incredible. Incredible. This was a sophisticated piece of equipment. The intel that they got over a week it's Unbelievable. And I just had to talk about it because I read the story and was following it. It's very bad for our country. And it really sets a terrible tone on what is going on. Who's running this country? Take care.